Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
Highly unusual ruling. The California State Supreme Court declared this week that O.J. Simpson attorney Alan Dershowitz is, quote, one ugly bastard. Meanwhile, Simpson Dream Team attorney Alan Dershowitz was back in the news this week, and good Lord is he ugly. Take a look at the guy. I mean, this is an ugly, ugly guy. No two ways about it. An ugly character. All right. It was reported this week that Simpson prosecutors Marsha Clark and Chris Darden often passed sexually explicit notes back and forth at the trial. Notes which discussed each other's, quote, turn-ons. And according to the notes, both Darden and Clark are turned on by the same freakish thing, Alan Dershowitz. Last week at a dramatic press conference about the crash of TWA Flight 800, ABC News correspondent Pierre Salinger displayed a document which he believes is proof that the jet was shot down by a U.S. Navy missile. Later, he proudly showed reporters his solid gold Rolex that he bought on the street for just $15. That's one ugly bastard, isn't it? Washington Power twosome Mary Madeline and James Carville are expecting their first baby in July. No one knows if the baby will be a Democrat or a Republican, but doctors are sure of one thing. It will be weird looking.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, September the 16th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Donald Trump. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you, Maria, then Varney and Company.
More breaking news. The Trump administration will appeal the decision from the D.C. Circuit Court, which blocks the firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook. She'll remain on the Fed board for this month's policy meeting, so she will have a voice at the decision on interest rates, which we'll get tomorrow. Let's get some final thoughts from this all-star panel with 30 minutes before the opening bell sounds on Wall Street and a mixed market. Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. So my final thoughts right now and probably for the foreseeable future are about Charlie Kirk. Honestly, anyone listening right now, if you have a moment, take it, read your Bible, even if it's for the very first time, learn something new about our incredible country. Go talk to your neighbor who disagrees with you politically, whatever it is. Go and do it. Make a change for Charlie.
He was such a great man. You're right. Incredible 2 weeks. Gregory.
Yeah, we'll stick to markets here, Maria. I mean, obviously, the Fed meeting front and center. I think the composition of this Fed is certainly going to change over the course of the next year. We're looking for the Fed to come down 25 basis points. And then at the same time, their own neutral rate is close to 3%. We expect rates to continue to come down from there.
All right, we will leave it there. My final thought, in addition to, of course, all my love for Charlie Kirk, I want to say I'm sorry to hear about Robert Redford. Robert Redford has died at the age of 89, legendary actor, Oscar winner, director. The Sting, I leave you with that. That was the movie. Elizabeth Pipko, Gregory Farinello, thank you for being here. Varney and Company picks it up. David Asman in for Stu.
The
David,
Sting, The Natural, Out of Africa, right. So many great movies.
Robert the President's Men, how about that one?
I forgot about that. Maria, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I'm David Asman in for Stuart Varney. By the way, Stuart is going to be hosting the show from London tomorrow and Thursday. He's already running on the ground there. He's going to be covering President Trump's second state visit to the UK. The trip makes President Trump the first elected leader in decades to be hosted for 2 state visits by a British monarchy. Now to the markets, all eyes turn to Fed Chair Jay Powell as a decision is just on the night. Comes out tomorrow, but today they're going to be deciding what they're going to do. Gold also hitting fresh records, and a federal appeals court ruling that Donald Trump cannot fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook, at least not before the rate cut vote today and tomorrow. Trump will appeal the ruling. On the other side, Stephen Myron, Trump's Fed pick, narrowly confirmed in the Senate with a vote of 48 to 47. So he will have a new member on his side at the Fed. On the show today, the man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk is expected to appear virtually in court. We are also learning that the alleged killer reportedly appeared to confess in online chat rooms just before his arrest. President Trump also said he would designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization if he gets the support. Overseas, the IDF launching a major ground assault in Gaza City as Secretary of State Rubio continues his Middle East tour. And Donald Trump says a second U.S. strike on Venezuelan drug boats killed 3 narco-terrorists. But Democrat members of Congress now want a say in the next strike. It is Wednesday, September 16th, 2025. Varney and Company about to begin.
Now, good. Thank you, Maria Bartiromo. A little bit of her.
And the expectations call for a cut of about 1/4 point, which would be the first cut in 9 months. But you've got a federal appeals court ruling last night that Lisa Cook will remain on the Fed while the court considers whether or not President Trump has the right to fire her. At the same time, the Senate voted 48 to 47 to confirm Stephen Moran as the...
So as far as the lady that gets to stay on, Lisa, whatever her name is, you'll notice he says while the court considers whether or not the executive branch has the authority to do blah blah blah. Well, you don't have to consider anything. You just look in the law first of all, and second of all, is she executive branch under the executive branch, or is she under the judiciary? Or perhaps the legislature. If she's under the legislature, it's an easy call. You say, no, the president can't fire her. Only the legislature can. Same thing with if she was working for the judiciary. But the fact of the matter is she is working for the executive branch. It's separate but equal. The executive branch is not subservient to the judiciary. Okay, so and this is where Donald Trump goes wrong again and again and again. What he needs to do is say, separate but equal, the court can rule whatever it wants to rule. She's fired. We're not going to let her back into her office, and that's the end of that. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Victor Davis Hanson.
I think I've never seen anything like it. The left is always advocating dense urban living, high rises, European style, and to surrender the autonomy of your car and depend on light rail and subways for mass transit and urban parks. Ostensibly, they say this is a better use of resources. Of course, the people who are saying this, Gavin Newsom has a $9 million vast estate, right? All these people in the East Coast, Barack Obama, who said it, has 4 mansions. None of them are high rises. Nobody wants to live like that who's advocating it. So his point is that there's another agenda they don't like to talk about. Once you put a lot of people in an urban society and they don't have detached homes and garages and cars, then they're dependent on the city for everything. They don't have a backyard, so they have to go to a park. And they don't have a car, so they have to get on a light rail or bus. They don't have a front door, so they have to take an elevator and depend on the elevator, communal. So it's all a communal idea, and therefore the state, the left, the people who are the engineers feel that they have leverage over the individual.
Victor lays bare the hypocrisy of America's ruling class, the same elites who preach dense urban living, mass transit, and shared spaces retreat every night to multi-million-dollar estates, far from the very policies they impose on everyone else. Hanson argues this isn't about efficiency or sustainability. It's about control. Strip away cars, backyards, and private homes, and suddenly the state adjudicates every part of life. Your safety on the subway, your access to parks, even your sense of independence. In California, this vision is already reality. Illegal compounds thrive in rural counties, shielded by DEI politics. Zoning laws vanish, poverty deepens, crime spreads, and yet Gavin Newsom postures as if his state is a model for the nation. The ruling class never pays the price for its ideology. Ordinary citizens do. Hanson warns that California is not America's future to admire. It's a blueprint to fear.
So they can adjudicate the level of safety, law enforcement in the park, on the elevator, on the subway, not the individual. And that's why they hate the Second Amendment so much. So what he's saying is that in their way of thinking, they control your life, and by intention. So on this light rail in North Carolina, there was no charge. It was an honor system. So what they're saying is we are allowing a criminal element onto the light rail, and that should remind you of racism and crime and what the proper way of doing it. More counselors, more alternative sentencing, and you're going to get in your elevator. If you don't like it, then you better reach out and be less selfish and less white and less et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they want. And you can see the effects in Europe, where when you bring in a lot of immigrants, and the Europeans, not all of them, but a much larger percentage than us, live or outside the city in circular high-rises that depend on buses and trains and elevators and communal parks, then they're much more sensitive to 1 million people coming into Germany from the Middle East without audit, and they have to depend on the government to protect them. And the government might say, "Can't hear you. What do you mean? Oh, I can't quite protect you? Oh, poor baby, you're not safe. Well, maybe you should be a little bit more progressive. Read some critical race theory before I give you another police," that kind of stuff. Would you want to depend on Karen Bass or Vi Lytles or whatever his name for your safety? I wouldn't. And the real morality are the people who don't care about the defenseless and the innocent, and they unleash these people and they never suffer the consequences of their own ideology. Never. They have private security. They have homes in the proper zip codes. They can afford sophisticated security systems. They don't need to go into bad neighborhoods. They don't take the subway. They don't take the light rail. They don't do any of that. Same thing about illegal immigration. I don't want to be too detailed, but I drove around, I would say, a 5 square mile area. And I would say a typical compound that I viewed, I won't give any information on exactly, it was a former farmhouse where I knew the occupant. Now it must have, I would call them a mixture of garage lean-tos and trailers that are parked on jacks. It must have over 40 people living there. There's every type of animal that I saw, menage, chickens, stuff. This is all single family zone. Everything you could see is in violation. And the person who is renting the place is now subletting shacks to illegal immigrants. It looks to me like, I didn't check the status, but my point is the state allows that to happen. And they do it because of DEI. And they say this is a protected group of people, poor immigrants. They have nowhere to go. California, we've zoned everybody out of a home. We want to make sure our neighborhood in Atherton and Fairville and Lafayette and Malibu is really good for us. We're wealthy, but we feel bad about that. So we're going to let in 3 or 4 million people that are illegal into California, and we'll send them to places like Kern County, Tulare County, the foothills, anywhere away from the coastal zone. And then they can do anything they want. They can live anywhere they want. We're not going to affect dog licensing. We're not going to worry about zoning laws, single-family homes. You can put 50 people on a quarter lot. That's your problem. And that's what they do, because Gavin is never going to see this. Boy, he's very quiet about all this. He's trashing Trump on social media. He has his expert influencers that write his X tweets, but he doesn't want to talk about. He's trying to blow up a couple more dams. He blew up 4. He wants to blow up 2 more in Napa, but he doesn't talk about. There's nothing going on in Pacific Palisades. It's just a desert. Reminds me of Calgagus, the Scottish tribal chieftain that Tacitus said. He says to his people, these people make a desert and they call it peace. And that's what they make, a desert, and they call it, what, progress? So he's doing nothing. He's not addressing the power problem, the brownouts, the quarter people don't pay their bill, the 21% that live below the poverty line, the madmen on the freeways, the crazy truck drivers, the inadequates. None of that. It's just, I'm going to run against Donald Trump and make California the model for the United States.
And that was a little bit of Victor Davis Hanson. Now, the problem with it, like with a lot of would-be conservatives and people on the right, is that he's preaching to the choir. Okay, the people he's talking to are all people that already understand the value of autonomy. Okay, but the problem is those of us that value that are only about half the population. Conservatives and Republicans are about half the population if you look at the voting records. He needs to speak to the other half if he wants to be effective. He's got to explain to the other half why what he's talking about is no good and do it in their terms. How does this affect single-payer health care? How does this affect climate change? How is putting up these big 7-story apartment buildings going to impact our carbon dioxide footprint? That kind of thing. Okay, when he starts doing that, he starts being effective. And that's the biggest problem of most Republicans, is that they sacrifice effectiveness to be right. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of motivation.
It's going to feel better when it's over. You know that when you get done doing the hard thing, you know you will feel better when it is done. You also know that if you don't do the hard thing, the thing that you don't want to do, that you don't feel like doing, you know if you don't do it, you're going to feel inferior. You know you're going to feel weak. Those are the 2 outcomes. One will cause you some short-term gratification. You'll get to sleep a little bit more. You won't have to put out during a workout. You don't have to do this tedious task. You'll get some short-term gratification, but the long-term regret will be strong, and it will inflict pain on you. The other outcome is when you do what you're supposed to do. You do what you know you need to do to move forward. And when you do that thing, you know you're going to feel strong, and you're going to feel gratified, and you're going to feel worthy of this life.
Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life.
And most of you in this room, you can't give up 6 months. You can't give up 8 months. You can't let stuff go for a few weeks. Some of you can't just let girls go. Let it go. Some of you just can't let parties go. Let it go. If you want to dominate in the area, you got to let everything go with that thing you're pursuing. You can't chase 2 rabbits and catch both of them.
The shortcut is a lie. The hack doesn't get you there. And if you want to take the easy road, it won't take you to where you want to be. There is no easy way. There is only hard work, Late nights, early mornings, practice, rehearsal, repetition, study, sweat, blood, toil, frustration, and discipline. There's only one way. Get up and go.
You need to be the master of your emotions, not let them affect you.
Get control of your feelings. By getting control of your feelings, you gain control of your life. When you do this over and over and over again, you change your brain. You become tougher. You become the one who decides what gets done and the level of success you achieve. Discipline is something you dictate. Motivation won't make you exercise every day. Discipline will. Motivation won't stay up late and finish a project for you. Discipline will. Motivation isn't going to get you out of bed in the morning. Discipline will. Remember that the pain right now will absolutely pay off in the future.
Some of you are not successful because you think effort is success. You think because you put in 40 hours that you're supposed to get some because you put in 40. It don't work like that in the school of hard knocks. They don't care how many hours you put. They just want to see the execution. So you feeling in your spirit like, yo, but I did just as much as he did. I studied just as much as he studied. It doesn't matter. You just got to execute.
You got to get a little bit more intense about your life. You got to stop being so casual. There's decisions we make that chase that best version of us every second, every day, because every day alters the direction of the course of our lives.
We are losing control, and it's time to take control. You've held up your someday, and here's the crazy part. All you got to do is look in the mirror. All you got to do is deal with yourself, and then we're going to get to a whole other level. At some point, you got to tell the flesh who's in control. I'm in control. You're not in control. I know you don't want to wake up. You don't have an option. Get up. There's a certain lifestyle we want. You need to discipline yourself. You need to learn to tell you no. You need to learn to tell you stop. You need to learn to tell you quit. Every single day, if you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to get what you dream to get. Some days you wake up, you in the mood. Some days you're not in the mood. A calendar does not care if it's your birthday, if it's a holiday, if you're not feeling good. A calendar does not care. A schedule does not care. So what happens is when you're consistent and you do something every day, you do it over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. More stuff comes to you when you execute, son. Execution, baby. We will do it by listing our priorities. We will do it by shutting everything else out. We will do it by saying no to everything that does not apply to our priority. We will do it by getting focused, laser focused. This will be the year that you stop half doing stuff. You stop half doing sports, half doing school, half writing that book. This will be the year of execution. And we'll do it one day at a time. And you're going to get control. And when you get control of that one area, you're going to blow up in every area. And then someday going to be your day. If you work for it, if you're willing to put in that sweat, that blood, and those tears, I'm telling you, you can have what you want, be what you want, do what you want. And there ain't nothing you can't have if you're willing to work for it. If you're willing to stick in there, if you're willing to stay, if you're willing to fight, it ain't nothing you can't have.
Discipline your body. Free your mind. Get up early and go. Get after it, and you will become the person you want to be.
Rewards come after you work, not before. The only place where success comes before work is in a dictionary.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of meditation.
Remind ourselves of what is true in this moment. Begin in a comfortable position with eyes closed. Connect with your body, feeling where you are in space. Take a deep breath in and send yourself gratitude for finding the time in your busy day to relax. And deep breath out, letting go of any stress and worries from the day. Allow yourself to sit with any negative feelings you may be moving through right now. Where do you feel them in your body? Breathe into that space deeply. And as you release your breath, let go of your worries. Imagine them floating away, being carried far away by your breath. Let go a little more each time you breathe. Breathing in and out. In and out. Connect again with your breath, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Breathing in and out. In and out. Come back again to your body, feeling where you are in space. Move about in any way that feels good. And whenever you are ready, slowly open your eyes.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a Donald Trump supporter.
So Trump's hitting these motherfuckers with missiles. Ooh, I love this shit. Warning to the cartel. You ship that smack over there, expect a trip to hell, courtesy of the USA. We ain't playing with your ass. Again, all the liberals all upset. Oh my God, he could have just let him do a search and see. Nah, bitch. Ain't no use bringing that shit over here. Blow that shit up with the motherfuckers that brought it. Oh, he's gonna create a war. Bitch, 350,000 overdose deaths to fentanyl, and you mean to tell me it's not already war? Oh my God, he's gonna start a war. Bitch, I wish Venezuela would. See, this shit was a statement. It was a message to the cartels. See, the cartels already expect to lose a little product, but they don't expect to lose the motherfuckers who bring the product. So this is gonna send shockwave. Ain't nobody gonna be trying to bring no boats over this bitch. Again, when Trump said he's gonna defend the homeland, that's exactly what he's doing. You ship that smack over here, you tell Lucifer, hey, for me. I ain't never seen a president just so aggressive. Again, he's trying to keep you safe. But the liberals don't care. They love crime. They love carjackings. They love illegal immigrants coming over here fucking shit up. Love gangbangers. They hate the police, but be the first ones to call them. Again, this president ain't playing. Promises made, promises kept. That's what the fuck I voted for. America's back, y'all. We ain't taking no more shit. Maduro, Claudia, any other whack-ass South American leader who can't control their damn cartel. If you can't do it, we will.
And that's a Trump supporter. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, another Trump supporter.
I was just over here thinking, Democrats and liberals always calling Trump a criminal, but yet all they do is defend criminals. So truthfully, if he truly was a criminal, y'all shouldn't even have no problem with it. Y'all over here defending a nigga that just killed 3 people. What the fuck? That's all y'all do is defend criminals. So if he really was a criminal, y'all shouldn't even have no problem.
And that's a Trump supporter. Back in a minute. Thank you. And yet another Trump supporter.
Hey, make sure y'all understand this, too. I forgot to talk about this. The last straw for Trump to trigger all this stuff that's going on in D.C. was a 3-year-old black girl getting killed. And y'all say he targeted black people, but the last straw was a 3-year-old black girl getting killed. Y'all care more about hating him than kids. Crazy.
And that was yet another Trump supporter. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, little Jordan Peterson.
There are scales of well-being that have been designed mostly by social psychologists, which means they're very bad scales most of the time because their psychometric capacity is absurdly low, generally speaking. So what you find with scales of well-being, sometimes they're talked about as scales of happiness even, is that people aren't after happiness. They're after not hurting. It's not so they don't want to be extroverted and enthusiastic, right? And bubbly and full of smiles and laughter. That isn't what they mean by I want to be happy. What they mean is I don't want to be anxious or in pain. And so well-being scales tend to be something like emotional stability plus extroversion. But the big loading is on emotional stability, the reverse of neuroticism. You want to avoid suffering. You don't want to be happy. You want to avoid suffering. And one way to avoid suffering is not to let the lions gnaw on you. And one way of doing that is to stay in the middle of the damn herd. And so, I'm not being a smart aleck about this. I understand why people do that. There's real danger to being visible. There's real danger in being visible. Now, you might be successful if you're visible, but you also might be dead.
And that was Jordan Peterson. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now Victor Davis Hanson on Trump's greatest legacy.
Donald Trump's greatest legacy, he broke the Democratic Party. And he exposed it for what it was. It was a bi-coastal elite party with a bunch of billionaires who spend lavishly and a bunch of subsidized poor and a professional class that feels frustrated. They make $200,000 and $300,000 a year, but they live in these blue cities that are very expensive and they can't buy their beautiful home. That's what the Mondami constituency is. Frustrated young white professionals. And then they've lost the working class. It's not just they have lost the muscular classes, Hispanic muscular classes, black males, white. As I said before, if you look at 2016, 20, and 24, Donald Trump's white vote is pretty constant. And he did not win the popular vote in 2016 or 2020. And yet he did win the popular vote and the Electoral College in 2024 with the same percentage and actual numbers of white voters. So what happened? He picked up some women, he picked up some young people, and he got 55% of Hispanic males, and he got about 25% of black males, and he picked up another 10 to 15% of Asian male. And how could that be if he was supposed to be a racist, according to the Democrats? It happened because it's not that they're just people. They don't want to be talked to. Nobody wants to be talked to. And basically, this is a caricature, but the Democratic attitude toward a black truck driver or a Mexican-American electrician was something like this. Now, you don't know what's good for you, but those 10,000 people crossing the border every year every day, and the 2 to 3 million people that cross every year illegally in the Rio Grande Valley, they're going to be good for you. I don't care what you say about your schools being swamps, crime going up. They're good for you. Remember that. Now, men have a right to transition, and they are now women, and they're going to compete in your daughter's sports, and you don't know what's good for you because you're too ignorant. But I will represent you. I'm a black woman with a PhD. I'm a Hispanic woman that's your congresswoman. I am your white liberal Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, and I will tell you what is good for you. Got it? And then they'll say, you know what? You don't understand that gas at $5.50 a gallon is really good for you because the planet is heating up. And the new Green Deal is going to save you. Get some solar panels and get on the team. So they talk down sanctimoniously, and that was never clearer when Barack Obama confronted those black Democratic activists, young men, and said, basically, you don't know what you're doing. You think Donald Trump's good or something, you've got to get out there and support Harris. You're suffering basically from Marxist false consciousness. And I, and as an elite, know what's good for you. And I will tell you, now go do it. That's what he basically said to them. For me, the locus classicus, the epitome of this is Pete Buttigieg. Everything about him represents what I just said. Sanctimonious, self-righteous, talk down. I know the answers. I know what's good for you. I am the transportation secretary. I don't think California is suffering from not enough freeways or it's too crowded. It's suffering from racist legacies of clover leaves. And I'm going to make non-racist clover. Nobody wants that. And that's what.
And that was Victor Davis Hanson discussing Trump's greatest legacy. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little Machiavelli.
Right now, someone is deciding whether you're important or irrelevant without listening to a single word you say. They're making this judgment based on how you walk, how you stand, how you move your eyes, how you hold your shoulders. They don't even realize they're doing it, but their brain is already putting you in a category, powerful or weak, confident or insecure, someone to respect or someone to ignore. This happens every single day. You walk into your workplace and people instantly decide how much attention you deserve. You meet someone new, and they immediately determine whether you're worth their time. You enter a room, and everyone unconsciously ranks where you fit in the social hierarchy. And here's what will disturb you most. You have no idea this is happening because you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say instead of realizing the game was over before you opened your mouth. Machiavelli discovered that power isn't just about what you do or what you say. It's about what people assume you're capable of before you do or say anything. It's about the invisible signals your presence sends, the unconscious messages your body language communicates, the subtle impressions that form in people's minds before conscious thinking even begins. Today I'm going to reveal the hidden psychology of first impressions and show you exactly how to program other people's unconscious minds to see you as powerful, competent, and influential from the moment you enter their awareness. Here's what's really happening in those first 7 seconds that will shock you. The person meeting you isn't evaluating your actual qualities or capabilities. They're scanning for evolutionary survival cues that have been hardwired into the human brain for millions of years. Their unconscious mind is asking primitive questions. Is this person dominant or submissive? Are they confident or insecure? Are they a potential threat to my status or someone I can control? Are they competent enough to be useful or incompetent enough to be dismissed? These evaluations happen so fast and so automatically that the person making them isn't even aware they're doing it. But once these unconscious judgments are formed, they become incredibly difficult to change because they're not based on logic or evidence. They're based on instinctual pattern recognition that bypasses rational thinking entirely. This is why you can spend hours in a meeting demonstrating your expertise, only to have your ideas dismissed by people who formed negative first impressions of you in the opening moments. Machiavelli understood that most people are completely unconscious of these psychological dynamics, which means they have no control over the impressions they create. They show up to important interactions, hoping their words will carry them, not realizing that the game was decided before they opened their mouths. They wonder why they're not taken seriously, why their ideas are ignored, why they're passed over for opportunities, never recognizing that the answer lies in unconscious signals they're sending without even knowing it. The first principle of Machiavellian first impression psychology is what he would have called presence before words. Your physical presence communicates volumes of information before you speak, and this information is processed by the most primitive parts of the human brain that are designed to make instant survival decisions. These brain regions don't care about your qualifications, your intentions, or your potential contributions. They only care about whether you represent opportunity or threat, strength or weakness, dominance or submission. Your posture is sending signals about your confidence and social status. Are you taking up space like someone who belongs wherever they are, or are you contracting your body like someone who's apologizing for their existence? Your eye contact patterns are communicating your level of comfort with attention and your willingness to engage in social dominance contests. Your facial expressions are revealing your emotional state and your attitude toward the people around you. Your movement patterns are showing whether you're comfortable in your own body or disconnected from your physical presence. But here's what makes this truly Machiavellian. These signals aren't just automatic expressions of your internal state. They can be consciously controlled and strategically deployed to create specific impressions in other people's minds. When you understand how first impressions are formed at the neurological level, you can reverse engineer the process and program people's unconscious minds to see you exactly as you want to be seen. The second principle is status signaling through stillness. Machiavelli observed that people in positions of power move differently than people in positions of weakness. Powerful people move with deliberate intention, while powerless people move with nervous energy. Powerful people can be perfectly still when stillness is appropriate, while powerless people fidget, shift, and engage in unconscious self-soothing behaviors that signal anxiety and insecurity. This isn't about being rigid or unnatural in your body language. It's about moving with purpose and being still with confidence. When you walk into a room, are you moving like someone who has a right to be there and knows exactly why they're there? Or are you moving like someone who's not sure if they belong and is hoping no one will notice their uncertainty? When you're listening to someone speak, are you still and focused like someone who's secure in their own presence? Or are you fidgeting and shifting like someone who's uncomfortable with attention and silence? The psychological principle behind this is that the unconscious mind interprets stillness and purposeful movement as indicators of high status and self-control. Animals in the wild demonstrate dominance through calm confidence and subordination through nervous movement. The human unconscious mind applies these same evolutionary patterns to social interactions, automatically assigning higher status to people who appear comfortable and in control of their physical presence. The third principle is what Machiavelli would have recognized as strategic asymmetry. This involves creating subtle imbalances in social interactions that position you as the person with higher status or greater power. In conversation, this might mean allowing comfortable pauses, while others feel compelled to fill silence. In physical positioning, this might mean taking up slightly more space or choosing positions that give you psychological advantages. In attention dynamics, this might mean being comfortable being looked at while others seek to avoid scrutiny. Strategic asymmetry works because it triggers unconscious dominance hierarchies that exist in all social groups. When someone consistently demonstrates that they're comfortable with attention, silence, space, and social tension, while others around them are not, the unconscious minds of observers automatically categorize them as higher status. This happens without conscious awareness or deliberate decision-making, which makes it incredibly powerful and difficult to counteract. The fourth principle is emotional contagion mastery. Your emotional state is contagious, whether you realize it or not. When you walk into a room feeling anxious, insecure, or apologetic, those emotions spread to the people around you and influence how they feel about interacting with you. Conversely, when you walk into a room feeling calm, confident, and genuinely positive, those emotions also spread and make people feel better about your presence. Machiavelli understood that leaders don't just manage their own emotions, they manage the emotional atmosphere of their environment. This means taking responsibility for the energy you bring to every interaction and consciously choosing emotional states that serve your objectives. If you want people to feel comfortable and confident around you, you need to genuinely feel comfortable and confident yourself. If you want people to respect and trust you, you need to embody the emotional qualities that inspire respect and trust. But here's the sophisticated part. This isn't about faking emotions or putting on a performance. Fake emotions are easily detected by the unconscious mind and actually create negative impressions because they signal deception and insecurity. True emotional contagion mastery requires developing genuine emotional states that align with your goals and learning to access those states consistently in social situations. The fifth principle is attention direction. Where you focus your attention and how you manage the attention of others communicates volumes about your social awareness and your understanding of power dynamics. People with high social intelligence know when to give attention, when to withdraw it, when to focus intensely on someone, and when to distribute their focus across a group. They understand that attention is a form of social currency, and they spend it strategically. This shows up in subtle ways that most people never notice consciously, but process unconsciously. When you meet someone new, do you give them your complete attention for the appropriate amount of time, or do you look around the room while they're talking as if you're searching for someone more important to talk to? When you're in a group conversation, do you include everyone appropriately, or do you focus only on the people you perceive as most important? When someone is speaking to you, do you listen with genuine interest, or are you obviously waiting for your turn to talk? Attention. Direction also involves understanding when to be the center of attention and when to deflect attention to others. People who are secure in their own power can comfortably share attention and even redirect focus to others when it serves their long-term interests. People who are insecure about their status tend to either grab attention inappropriately or avoid attention entirely, both of which create negative first impressions. The sixth principle is what Machiavelli called controlled revelation. This involves strategically managing what people discover about you and in what order they discover it. Most people either reveal too much too quickly, which can overwhelm or bore others, or they reveal too little, which can make them seem secretive or uninteresting. The art lies in revealing just enough to create curiosity and engagement while maintaining an appropriate level of mystery. Controlled revelation works because the human mind is naturally curious about things it doesn't fully understand. When you give people glimpses of your depth, competence, or interesting experiences without overwhelming them with details, you create psychological intrigue that draws them toward you. They want to learn more, which gives you control over the pace and direction of relationship development. This principle applies to everything from how you dress to how you speak about your background and experiences. Are you dressed in a way that suggests there's more to discover about you? Or are you either completely generic or trying so hard to impress that there's no mystery left? When people ask about your work or interests, do you give them enough information to be intrigued without overwhelming them with details they didn't ask for? But perhaps the most important element of Machiavellian first impression psychology is understanding what he recognized as the theater of power. Every social interaction is a form of theater where people are playing roles based on their understanding of social hierarchies, cultural expectations, and personal dynamics. Most people are unconscious actors in this theater, playing roles they never consciously chose, and following scripts they never consciously learned. When you understand that social interactions are theatrical performances, you can become a conscious director of your own performance while reading the performances of others. This doesn't mean being fake or manipulative. It means being strategic about the version of yourself you present in different contexts, while remaining authentic to your core values and personality. The theater of power recognition also means understanding that other people are performing roles as well, and that their first impressions of you are influenced by the roles they're playing. Someone who's insecure about their own status might react negatively to displays of confidence, not because there's anything wrong with your confidence, but because your confidence threatens their self-image. Someone who's been trained to defer to authority might respond positively to subtle dominance signals, not because they genuinely respect you, but because those signals trigger automatic submission responses. This understanding allows you to calibrate your approach based on the psychological dynamics of specific situations and individuals. You can choose to emphasize different aspects of your personality, adjust your energy level, modify your communication style, and position yourself physically in ways that create the most favorable first impressions with particular people in particular contexts. The seventh principle is value demonstration without desperation. People form impressions not just based on what qualities you seem to possess, but on how secure you appear to be in possessing those qualities. Someone who's genuinely confident in their competence demonstrates it naturally without trying to prove it. Someone who's insecure about their competence either hides it completely or overcompensates by trying too hard to impress others. This principle applies to everything from professional credentials to personal accomplishments to social connections. When you mention your background, achievements, or relationships, is it coming from a place of natural sharing, or are you obviously trying to impress people and gain their approval? The unconscious mind can detect the difference immediately, and desperate attempts to demonstrate value actually communicate low status and insecurity. Value demonstration without desperation requires genuine self-confidence that comes from knowing your own worth independent of other people's opinions. When you truly believe in your own competence and value, you don't need to convince others of it. You can let your qualities speak for themselves through your actions, decisions, and natural behavior patterns. The 8th principle is social calibration. This involves reading the social dynamics of specific environments and adjusting your behavior to optimize your first impressions within those particular contexts. What creates a positive first impression in a corporate boardroom might create a negative impression at a creative networking event. What works well in one-on-one interactions might not work in group settings. What's appropriate with peers might not be appropriate with people significantly older or younger than you. Social calibration requires developing sensitivity to cultural norms, situational expectations, and individual personalities while maintaining your authentic core. You're not changing who you are. You're adjusting how you express who you are to maximize your effectiveness in different social environments. This skill becomes particularly important as you advance in your career and personal life because you'll encounter increasingly diverse social contexts that require different approaches. The ability to create positive first impressions across different environments and with different types of people becomes a significant competitive advantage in both professional and personal relationships. The final element of mastering first impressions is understanding what Machiavelli recognized as the compound effect of social perception. First impressions don't just influence individual relationships, they influence your reputation and social position within larger networks. When multiple people form positive first impressions of you, those impressions reinforce each other and create a positive social momentum that opens doors and creates opportunities. Conversely, when people form negative first impressions, those impressions can spread through social networks and create barriers that persist, long after you've developed greater skills or self-awareness. This is why mastering first impressions isn't just about individual interactions. It's about managing your overall social trajectory and building a reputation that serves your long-term interests. The compound effect also means that improving your first impression skills has multiplicative benefits. Every positive first impression you create potentially influences not just that person's perception of you, but their willingness to recommend you, introduce you to others, and speak positively about you in contexts where you're not present to represent yourself. This creates what Machiavelli would have recognized as influence without presence, the ability to shape outcomes and opportunities through the positive impressions you've created with people who then advocate for you when you're not there to advocate for yourself. This type of influence is incredibly powerful because it's based on genuine respect and positive regard rather than direct persuasion or manipulation. The ultimate goal of mastering first impression psychology isn't to trick people into liking you or to create false impressions of who you are. It's to ensure that people's first impressions accurately reflect your best qualities and highest potential. Most people create first impressions that undersell their capabilities and potential contributions because they don't understand how social perception works or how to present themselves strategically. When you master the psychology of first impressions, you're not becoming someone different. You're becoming a more effective version of who you already are. You're learning to communicate your authentic value in ways that other people can immediately recognize and appreciate. You're developing the social intelligence to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics while maintaining your integrity and genuine personality. This mastery pays dividends in every area of your life because first impressions influence everything from romantic relationships to career advancement to business opportunities to social connections. Every significant relationship, opportunity, and outcome in your life began with a first impression. And learning to create consistently positive first impressions is one of the highest leverage skills you can develop.
And that was Machiavelli. And I like the fact that he is pointing out in this video is that you got to know something, that there's no shortcuts in life, that power isn't the holy grail, so to speak, that all you have to have is power and learn how to manipulate people, and then you're off to the races. He's saying that you have to know things first. You have to be something, and then you can go ahead and work on your skills in terms of making a first impression. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that subjective individualism is your idea.